Welcome everyone to this Reuters Events webinar on auto insurance preparing for a post-Covid-19 landscape. And it's in the run-up to the Future of Insurance events taking place over the coming weeks. My name is David Clamp. I was in charge of IT at Hiscox in the UK. I'm now an independent consultant and I help insurance companies win with technology. But here today I'm moderating the event, which is really interesting topic. Right now, COVID is shifting the auto insurance landscape completely. The Reuters, this webinar will take an in-depth look at how you can take action to prepare for the coming changes and ensure you're aware of how the industry will be affected. Driver data will be impacted by the reduction in car usage over the lockdown period, and you'll need to adapt to ensure you effectively price your products and assess and accurately assess risk. It's vital that you recognise this and prepare for these speed bumps and ensure you have a roadmap for auto insurance in a post-COVID landscape. I am really pleased to welcome three leading experts on the panel for us today. I'll introduce each one now. Monika Schulze. Monika was named Head of Direct and Partnership Development at Zurich Insurance Company in January 2020. Monika is responsible for implementing the online strategy for Zurich sales and the further development of the German partner business. In doing so, she will advance and strengthen Zurich's position as a custom-orientated designer of ecosystems through increased cross-selling, stronger partnerships, and targeted campaigns for lead generation. Prior to this role, Monika served as Zurich's Global Head of Customer Experience and Digital Strategy, as well as Global Head of Marketing. Monika has been listed by Martech as one of the top 12 women CMOs to follow on Twitter, and she's also been recognised by Forbes as one of the world's most influential CMOs. Welcome to you, Monika. Also joined on the panel by Daniel Espinosa. Daniel is a fully qualified engineer from the University of Zaragoza in Spain and Master in Business Administration and Management from the CEST International Business School. Since 2005, Daniel has developed his professional activity at Centro, Zaragoza, where he has started out as a traffic accident investigator. Since then, he has gone through many different areas of the company, leading the development of new lines of activity and highlighting his participation in the development of different products and services. He's a regular collaborator on different media, as a disseminator of measures that contribute to the reduction of traffic accidents and the improvement of mobility. He often participates in events, conferences and roundtables, and he offers his vision about the trends in the insurance sector. He is currently Head of Mobility and Innovation at Centro Zaragoza. Lastly, but certainly not least, Christoph Eichel. Christoph is the Head of Claims for AXA's new and international markets. He is responsible for P&C, life and health claims and insurance procurement in AXA International and New Markets region, which embraces 30 entities on 4 continents. Most of the countries are acknowledged as emerging and strongly growing insurance market. Prior to this, Christoph was Head of Claims Analytics and Controller at AXA Germany, where he was responsible for developing data analytics use cases for AXA Germany's P&C claims area, controlling reporting and monitoring for transversal claim functions, as well as claims operations. Welcome to all our 3 panelists, and welcome to you all, our audience here today. In terms of the format, what we're going to do is each panelist will share their thoughts for around 10 minutes or so, and then we'll have an interactive session using the Q&A functionality at the bottom of your screen. Hopefully you can see that just to the right on your Zoom screen. And so please get your questions ready so that in the Q&A section, we can have a really good debate, and that's where it gets really interesting. And the panelists are here really to help you answer those questions. So thanks for joining. Let's kick things off. I'd like to invite Monika to get out her virtual crystal ball and share her thoughts on auto insurance preparing for a post-COVID-19 landscape. Monika.
Good, David. Thanks a lot for the very nice introduction, and welcome everybody online. I want to start with the fact that we had, especially in Germany, a lot of people owning cars, and they still own cars. If you look at the stats in Germany, we're talking about 47 million registered cars. And I don't say that because I don't believe the world is changing. I say that because I believe habit change and changing customer habits is not that easy. And that also means that you always have to start with the customer and what they need. And that also means understand them, how they lived in those difficult times the last half year. If you look, I mean, just at my personal experience, I mean, there were some months, weeks where I had the feeling nobody was on the road. Today, when I'm driving to the office, you have the feeling, oh, everything is back to normal again. Yeah? It's crowded, traffic jams, so everything is back to normal. Does that mean everything is the same? And Corona doesn't have an influence? No, of course not. So there is a lot going on, but still start with the fact that Germans love cars and they still like to use their cars because it's a status symbol. It is an expression of freedom, and they still, I mean, in my age, people still believe it's very important to have a sexy car. Yeah? If you then look at the younger generation, of course there is a difference because cars are expensive. If you have to buy one, you have to buy an insurance, you have to pay a lot of stuff. It's not that easy, and there you see more changes coming, like car sharing and whatever you have. But still, I mean, the mass market is still huge and still in the old times. So I think what we have to do as an insurance company is say, how do we serve the big mass market, but at the same time then adapt to trends and deal with the new ways of the insurance industry. That's one aspect. The other one, and I assume that because I'm from marketing, nobody else has that on the agenda, is also we as an insurance company have a very special role to play. Because of course people are insecure, have a lot of challenges now because Corona was a difficult time. So I think our role as insurance industry is to help customers to feel secure, protect them, in terms of giving them the security that we are there for them, that we support them if there are difficult times, also with their car, if something breaks down. I think what we shouldn't do right now is increase prices. And believe it or not, there are some discussions if we should increase prices. Yeah, I mean, everything is happening. And we should have a Corona communication that is adapting to customer needs, their fears, and how they live today and see the world. And I think that is very important as well. By the way, also for our employees. So I think Corona highlighted the fact that we have to take care of customers, we have to take care of our employees. And I think there, because a car is something which we use every day, we have a special role to play as well. So that's for my introduction. So habit change is not that easy. I mean, we're all talking about Corona is changing the world and digital and everything is switching. Yes, there's a trigger because Corona changed a lot, but it's not changing that quickly, so be aware. And then of course also take care of customers' feelings more than ever before, because today's times are such that we as an insurance industry have to play a special role and go back to our roots and say, how do we best protect people and take care of them?
Monika, thank you very much for sharing those insights and that kind of positioning statement. I think we'll be coming back to some of those things that you said in the Q&A session. I've certainly got some questions to take those trains of thought forward. But thank you very much. Now I'd like to welcome sort of introductory remarks from Daniel. Over to you with your crystal ball, please.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank Reuters and for the invitation to this event, this amazing webinar. And I thank David for your kind introduction, and thank you to Monika for your excellent speech. And first of all, we have to think about how insurance company used to operate before all this. We were working on the channel.
And is it possible for you to speak a little bit?
Okay. Are you listening to me better right now?
That's great, thank you.
Okay, first of all, I was saying that we need to think about how insurance companies were working in the past, so before all this happened, before Corona, before COVID-19. They were working in new technologies and artificial intelligence, big data, deep learning, chatbots. They were also working in new communication channels like social media. Okay, these are things the insurance companies were doing, and they were doing it incredibly in most of cases, with their difficulties, of course. And they were also working on achieving a better customer experience through greater personalization, seeking maybe greater loyalty, and in many cases they were relying on new technology companies that made it easier to carry out these tasks. And a situation like this arrives, and I think, in my opinion, is what we have to do is return to the origin of the insurance companies. What do insurance companies sell? Because insurance companies, maybe I think that the insurance companies do not sell insurance policies. Okay, maybe someone may be thinking I'm crazy, but that's the way it is. An insurance company actually sells peace of mind. The client buys.
If you could just talk a little bit slower, please, a little bit clearer. We're not quite being able to hear you as well as we want to, if that's okay.
Okay, I was saying that an insurance company sells peace of mind, sells tranquility, and that's what's a customer, that a client expects from his insurance company. Obviously, COVID-19 does not promote tranquility, and that is why insurance companies need to regain the trust of their policyholders. They need to bring them peace of mind. They need to bring them tranquility, and this is, in my opinion, the great challenge of the insurance sector in general and the automobile insurance sector in particular. And given the current situation of uncertainty, the greatest advantage of that a company can count on is having a good capacity to adapt, to be able to respond quickly to any event or change in the market. Okay, and of course, the effects of the pandemic on the operations of insurance company will be very varied, and the challenges will continue to be those I have mentioned before, becoming even more important, more relevant, reaching the customer through different channels, using technologies in all areas of the insurance company, from underwriting to the investigation of fraud, for example, and also personalize the policies to the maximum, so that the insured does not perceive that they are underwriting an insurance policy, but that they are underwriting their insurance policy, that they are buying peace of mind, that I was saying before. And in the previous crisis, we saw that auto insurance and thus those that are more closely linked to economic activity are more cyclical and may suffer a little bit more. So one of the factors affecting auto insurance underwriting is the decline in vehicle registrations. So less sold cars.
Did you say the declining vehicle registrations?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, if there are less cars that are sold, it's a problem for insurance companies, of course. And in addition to seeking growth in income and in new policies, with this customization of which we speak, companies have to be prepared also to face the economic effects. Focusing on car insurance, we find vulnerable clients who were not previously vulnerable, people who have lost their jobs or who have seen their income reduced. And so it is likely that insurance companies will have to do new works, for example, maybe there's an increase in simulated thefts, for example, or maybe an increase in personal injury claims related to fraud. And insurance companies has to be prepared with technological tools in order to fight these these new challenges of this moment. Okay, I think that
Daniel, thank you very much, and thank you for doing that as clearly as you could. We got the kind of key points there, and just for everyone's benefit, from what I heard, it was around getting back to the origin of why the insurance company are there in the first place. It's to sell peace of mind. It's to create that kind of sense of tranquility with the customer. But there's a real challenge to adapt to these new environments, particularly with the new technologies that are available, and then declining vehicle registrations, or the number of vehicles on the road, and then kind of the overall economic pressures that COVID-19 are giving to everybody, and how do insurers respond to that, particularly things like increasing potential for PI fraud that might be taking place.
Yes, and I think that maybe that new insurtechs or new technologies can help to fight this, to adapt to the insurance company to these challenges they have.
Absolutely, and we're going to get onto that in the Q&A for sure, because I've got a question. Okay. Daniel, thank you so much. Christoph, your crystal ball, over to you.
Super, thank you very much, David. And first of all, good afternoon to everyone. I'm still flattered to be on a panel with you guys, and I heard so many interesting things about motor insurance. I nearly don't know what to add here, but maybe let me start with the most important point from my perspective in a post-COVID world, or even in a, I think we are in the next 1 or 2 years more in the middle of the COVID world. And I think in this environment, our first thought and concern should be about our employees and our customers. So how can we keep them safe, and how can we make sure we protect what matters? So in this, on this behalf, I think mobility and health will play an even more important role in the life of our customers than it has been previously. And another question that I would like to add here is, how can we transform our way of working and interacting without losing our ability to innovate? I think innovation starts when people come together. That will become much more different on an employee perspective. And same goes for the client. How can we keep them close? And that's, I think, not specific to insurance. That's a question that every industry has to ask. I mean, when we look inside the insurance mechanics, of course, we will probably see pressure on new business, on loss ratios, and on cost. And that's where every carrier should have an answer to. When you now ask me, okay, what could be a way out of all these challenges? I think there are three super important things. First is, what is maybe the simplest customer journey you can offer? You can think that from a sales perspective, you can think that from a claims perspective, but that should be your major concern. And this you need to combine, I think, with the digital transformation. And here, let me say that teleworking is definitely great, and I'm super impressed how many companies put up teleworking that fast, but teleworking is not precisely digital transformation. There we have to go further. And the last thing, and I heard that from Daniel as well, and from Monika, is that what is a relevant product offering? Just let me share one thought here. So on mobility and travel, maybe, we do not really know when and how full mobility will resume, and also not under what conditions. And I think today, insurers across the whole market, we are not equipped to protect travelers and traveling companies, and maybe also fleet companies or big car rental companies from that uncertainty. That's, I think, one of the things we should have in mind when we think of our product offering. Let's look a bit more precisely into motor insurance. So on the short term, I would see from a car usage perspective, and Monika, you commented on that, and I found that super interesting. What does that mean precisely for car sales on the motor aftermarket? So I think people will probably, in an economic cool down, continue to drive their cars much longer, just out of prudency. I mean, you know, the Germans, Monika, you mentioned them. We tend to save our money, right? Maybe under the blanket or somewhere, and we won't buy a car for a couple of years. That's quite likely. So, but that makes that makes a shift of income for the manufacturers from selling new cars to maintenance of cars that get more and more older. So this is also relevant for us as an insurer because we play a major role in the ecosystem of the automotive aftermarket. Just when we look at claims amounts in motor insurance, I think more than 80% we pay on bumpers and windscreens. And I think we should keep that in mind and see what is our move into that market. The other question that may be a bit contrary to what Daniel said, what if infection rates remain high and we don't have the vaccine that everyone's talking about and we don't use the Vladimir Putin vaccine shortly? What do you think? Did you take it, Daniel? You're laughing.
No, okay. To insurance.
Okay, good. So if infection rates remain high and public transportation is not the option of choice for many customers, I can imagine that people are afraid because they could get infected in the tube or somewhere. Would that maybe even increase traffic and increase car sales? And more people want to go to the office or to grocery shopping with cars. Could be something. Maybe on the long run. And here, for me, the $1 million question is, how does the future of mobility look like? Will we stick more often to remote working? Would that increase maybe shared mobility, which I just said is maybe even more difficult if we have a global pandemic going on? And I think we cannot be certain what we can offer in 10 or 20 years from now. So we need to find an answer to the short term and be prepared also for what we can offer in 10 or 20 years from now. Maybe let me comment to the end on what is happening in new and international markets, because I'm responsible for that region, and I can't say too much on the established insurance market. Insurance penetration in these markets we are working with here at AXA International New Markets is a lot lower than in the established market. And one trend that might surprise some people and others not is what coverage do you think, David, people buy first in these markets? A life insurance, a health insurance, or a motor insurance?
Sorry, Chris, just to confirm, when you talk about new markets, we're talking countries, regions, geographies.
Exactly. Speaking about geographies, emerging insurance markets where you have low insurance penetration as of now. So I'm speaking of Latin America, regions in Africa, speaking of emerging economies, maybe in the Middle East, also in Asia. You can imagine people don't buy health insurance first, people buy a motor insurance first. So the first thing, as soon as people can afford, they buy a car insurance. That's what we can see in many of these markets. And why is that? Because it grants them income. People can suddenly drive to work. They have a bigger scope on where they can get and generate income. So this is where we see a bit of a shift, because this global pandemic made or increased, let's say, the insurance awareness of customers in these markets. I think here we have a key role to play as an insurer to offer affordable and transparent healthcare to emerging societies, and also make sure that we can support our customers to get to work, to generate income, maybe also to protect SMEs that are especially or particularly under pressure in these times. That's, I think, where we as insurers should really support the economy, and we have a key role to play. That would be it from my perspective. Not sure if you have any questions.
There are plenty of questions coming in, but Christoph, thank you so much for that sort of overview. Fascinating, lots and lots of things to dive in there. So let's dive in. First question that's come in is the customer expectations from insurers also likely to change post COVID-19? And by way of expectation there, I've got two cars sitting out on my drive. You can see one of them. I've hardly used both of them in the last 6 months. Now, obviously, when I come out post-COVID-19, I will start to use them. But I'll be thinking, actually, do I want to pay for an annual policy? Or do I want to just pay when I use it? Are customers' expectations changing? Monika.
Customer expectations are changing very quickly. And that was the case before COVID-19 as well. So we have to be easier, we have to be quicker, we have to adapt to customer needs and don't have the inside view where we start most of the time. And I'm coming from the FMCG industry. So I was a bit astonished when I joined the insurance industry that everybody was talking about policies and products and the salespeople have to fix the customers. And that today doesn't work anymore because we have the digital world where people expect that you as an industry or you as a company respond to their needs as well. I think COVID helps us, I mean, us meaning the people who are for the customer, to accelerate those things. My discussions concerning investments for digital tools are much easier today compared to half a year ago, so that's good.
Good.
So I think customer expectations are high. They will accelerate, especially now after COVID times, because they have the feeling we have to take care of them, which I said in the beginning. Yeah? So we're here to protect them, to help them, to strive in times that are difficult. So they have certain expectations, and those expectations will even increase after COVID. And I mean, one thing is clear also, I mean, when I started 10 years ago in the insurance industry, my main competitor was AXA, Allianz, and we only looked at those players. I think we started looking at China some years ago. So, I mean, all those players that are more digital than we are and miles ahead. And we also now have discussions, we have to look at Amazon, we have to look at whoever, or I looked at a Starbucks customer portal recently where I said, yeah, can we do something similar for our industry as well? Those discussions couldn't have taken place 5 years ago because everybody would have said, come on, yeah, you from FMCG, stop talking about that stuff. We are insurance.
Yeah.
Today,
FMCG is much moving consumer goods.
Yeah. So today it's much easier to come with innovative and challenging ideas than it was before. And I think Corona has helped us to accelerate those discussions.
We'll explore later on about how easy or difficult it is to implement those new ideas. But coming back to customer expectations, certainly, COVID-19 has exposed whether insurance companies have full online digital capabilities or whether or not they've got kind of analog processes which really haven't adapted very, very quickly. And COVID-19 has put sort of rocket fuel under the drive to go digital. And the expectations are that we'll just interact with an insurer digitally. Why should I phone someone? Why should I send an email? Why should I send a letter, for sure? Daniel, what are you seeing in terms of changing customer expectations about auto insurance?
Okay, I think that, like Monika said, of course...
Again, very slowly, very clearly. Okay.
Now?
If you want to shout at me, that's great.
Okay.
Good is shouting. Okay. Shouting is good.
Sorry, I'm so sorry if you listened me badly before. But I was saying, like Monika said, people need to feel that they are being covered by the policy and by the insurance company that it is there in order to help them. And at least here in Spain, there's another point to be taken into account that we find that comparators, that websites that compare different insurance policies are becoming more relevant to insurance companies as happened in the previous economic crisis, since many customers simply want to pay less for their insurance. Sometimes, currently, we are seeing that comparators are becoming more relevant. I don't say that this is good or this is bad, but this is a fact, and insurance companies need to be prepared to be different in price, but also to be different or to explain to the customers why they are different in the services they provide. So I think that sometimes we need to, or insurance companies need to educate to the customer to explain what they are doing, or why the customer is paying some amount of money that
Okay.
that it can be higher or less. Okay.
Can I just come in there and Christoph, can I ask you to take a counter view, because sometimes insurers feel that they know the customer. They are the customer. They have that sort of lack of hubris, or the hubris to think that they are the customer, where in fact they're not the customer in any shape. Can you take the opposite view and say, Chris, in your view, how do you actually understand what the customer really needs, rather than sort of explaining this is how insurance works, turn it around and go, what is it actually you need, and how will that evolve post COVID-19?
Yeah, that's a super relevant question, David, and it's a very relevant point. You know, I've been working in insurance my whole professional life, and if I ask myself in a self-empiric inquiry, it would probably come out that I need another insurance product to add on my stock of insurance products that is piling up here. But that's not the answer for the customers we are looking at in emerging insurance markets, and also not in established insurance markets. So what can we do to understand the customer? I would say we just ask them. That is what is happening, I think, in many insurance companies. That you
just asking them isn't perhaps the whole thing, because you can ask someone and then you can ignore the response.
Yeah, of course. You can ask, you can ignore the response. That would not be very smart of us, not listening to what our customers want. The other thing is maybe customers don't completely know what insurance can offer in terms of digital services, and how easy it can be to interact with us. So we might build on the other side all these fantastic digital customer journeys, digital capabilities, but no one knows. So how can we even, let's say, make our customers aware how easy it is? It's maybe easier to buy stuff on Amazon, to file a claim with AXA. So that's I think the other part of it.
Fantastic, thank you. So let's move on.
David, am I allowed to ask Christoph a question?
Go on then, as long as it's a short.
I'm a bit provocative here now, but I think that we are good now at asking customers questions, but sometimes I have the feeling that we're asking them questions, but then we are not that good at translating it into insights, let alone then action plans. So how do we get better as an insurance industry to say from data to insights to action? Because that's the big trick. Yeah? I mean, we have a lot of data, but we lack insights in terms of what does it mean from a customer point of view. And then we sometimes understand what they want, but we're not able to get into action, respectively set priorities. Maybe it's different at your company, but I think that all of us are struggling a little bit with that. So question to Christoph, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Monika, if you have so much data, but you don't have any answers, maybe you need to hire some more data analysts or data scientists.
I'm not sure that's
the
only solution, but okay. But
no, that's certainly not the only solution. What I think is very successful is when you include the customers in your process of developing things. So you build your customer journeys, and I'm speaking of really customer journeys, not from customer touch point to touch point. It should be a real journey. And when you have an agile team within your company, why don't you test the things not just with your IT people and with your product people, but maybe you invite the customers to say, what do you think? We have this new process. Maybe insurance is not your main area of concern, but would you use that? And then you can see, okay, am I going into the right direction? And that's, I think, how you can build an adequate process.
Fantastic. And not just asking your current customers, but asking the customers you don't have as well. Fantastic. Lots of comments coming in. It's not enough to ask the client. You should also understand what's happening in their mind. Sometimes the clients say something, but they mean something else. Very, very perceptive. So let's go back to questions. Keen to bring Daniel in. Here we are. So Let's have a look. Let's get a question. Yes. Do pay-as-you-drive motor insurance products have major downsides? Not cheaper if you drive average amounts per year and the monthly premium paid is volatile. So I think it's two questions here. One, do you see an increase in demand for pay-as-you-drive? And then secondly, are they actually cheaper for the client, for the customer? Daniel.
Okay, regarding the pay-as-you-drive you mentioned.
So slowly and clearly.
Okay, pay-as-you-drive, you said?
Yeah, just like that. Thank you.
Okay, I think that regarding the pay-as-you-drive policies, I think they should be in some cases cheaper, but obviously that will happen is that it will be more personalized. We're talking about the customer experience, and I think that it is very important, of course, to ask the client to know what they think or to know what they say they think. But it is also important to work with artificial intelligence tools, for example, in order to create something that let us to personalize the policy to the insured, and of course in the automobile sector, pay-as-you-drive or autonomous vehicles are game changers, and of course policies will have to adapt to this situation. Christoph mentioned before that maybe there will be more cars that will be sold in the long term. Of course, the pandemic has made public transport with a high concentration of people no longer attractive to users, but options such as self-driving public minibuses that receive regular cleaning or could be presented as more viable options compared to the first option, or even in contrast even to private transport services on demand. So maybe I'm not sure that there will be more cars sold in the future. And but obviously it's difficult to
Indeed, Daniel. Thank you for that. We just about heard you there. But just coming back, I think to what we said earlier about sort of changing customer behaviours and expectations. Certainly in the UK, we're seeing not a revolution by any means, but a gradual increase in people buying insurance when they need it. So against the kind of I buy it once, I've got it for the year, I can forget about it. Well, actually, the new sort of what Monika was saying about the new millennials, the new people coming through are going, well, actually, I'll buy insurance when I need it on my smartphone. I'll press a couple of buttons, bang, I can then borrow my friend's car for the next 2 hours for £20. So there's a company called Cover doing that, and other can buy miles and things. So there's a gradual increase. Do we think that COVID is going to accelerate that or dampen that, Monika?
David, no, Daniel, you go. You had an answer, and then
okay.
I go.
Daniel,
sorry, just I was thinking that like mobility insurance will be perceived as a service. So insurance as a service will lead us to what you were saying, David, that young people want the service in the moment they need. That they are not using the service, they don't want to pay for it.
So the age profile will drive that. How about COVID-19? Will that help or hinder that?
In my opinion, it will accelerate this because I think that people will prefer to use shared vehicles, but with few people that public transport with a lot of people. So, in my opinion, it was a trend that we could see before, and I think that all this COVID-19 will accelerate this.
So yes, it will accelerate. Fantastic. Monika, will COVID-19 accelerate these new form products and services or decelerate?
No, it will accelerate. I mean, it's pretty clear. And this is why I started with habit change. I mean, changing habits of people is very difficult. And I did a lot of research when I still was working in foods. I mean, getting people to change habits is extremely difficult and you need a trigger. And I think COVID-19 is a trigger. A lot of people think about the economics of new ways of doing things. And that also in combination with this whole Greta discussion, which is a bit undercover right now, but it will come back again. Yeah.
So what discussion?
Greta, the Swedish environmental list.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think that will come as well, because I mean, this whole environment discussion will come up again. It's now a bit drowned under the COVID discussion, but it will come up again.
It's not gone away.
And I mean, just look at Germany today. Yeah, we have mid of September and 30 degrees. Yeah? So I mean, a lot of people believe it's not really normal what is happening. So we'll come up again, and that means people think about new ways of dealing with things.
Okay. And
then, of course, also if you look at cities like London, I mean, who wants to find a parking space in London? Yeah, who can afford to park there? I mean, you have to adapt to certain things if you're in an environment where you cannot just continue doing things like you did 20 years ago. Yeah?
Okay, so a changing landscape, changing expectations about products and services from insurers, but yet the economy isn't going to be as strong, so people are going to be looking after their money a little bit wiser and more carefully. And we mentioned at the start about having a tranquility or ability to really be beside our customer. How can we do that and be profitable? Christoph.
David, that's $1 million question, to be honest. Yes. So when I look at the emerging insurance markets, what our customers expect from us is clearly how can we protect their lives as they are. So you must imagine it's not super rich countries very oftenly, and here you have to have a meaningful product offering that really goes into the core of what our customers need. So we don't think maybe in the terms of motor policy and a household policy and stuff like that, but we more think of, okay, what do you actually want to insure? Maybe your mobility to get to work, maybe just that you have a roof above your head, maybe that you can generate income for the whole family. So here I think we need to find solutions that really suit to our customer needs. And Monika said that at the beginning, stop thinking in terms of, we have 30 policies, which one is the one that fits you? But let's think, how can we really protect the lives of our customers with an ecosystem that we build around them? And how do we make that profitable? I think customers, if they see the values of what insurance brings to them and brings to their lives, and how this even increases life quality when there is an accident, when there is a claim, or when there is a global pandemic, they would be open. They would be open to pay for that.
Excellent. We just had a great question from Carlos. Thank you, Carlos. It is time to switch from auto insurance to mobility insurance as a wider concept. Christoph, you would certainly agree with that. I mean, my dream is a product covering me for mobility. It doesn't matter if it is a car, e-scooter, bike, shared car, whatever. I think people would love to have one product covering all their moves and liabilities within them. The case is the following: if I drive my car to a parking outside a city and use my e-bike to move across the city with a unique and comprehensive product, would this be feasible? Monika.
So, sorry.
Yeah, and then we'll come back.
Christoph, come on, you go first in the name.
Okay.
No, so shoot, Monika, shoot.
Christoph.
I mean, I'm more into, David, the idea you launched earlier. Yeah, I think, especially the younger generation is so much used to their mobile phone. It's like my mobile phone, and then I press a button, and whatever I do, then this happens. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not talking to them on that.
I was not allowed to take my mobile phone in this room. So I thought, but normally I have my mobile phone. press the button. Yeah, whenever I take a bike, I press the button so that I'm secured. And then whenever I take the car, I do the same. That's more the model. Is that feasible? And is it part of our business model today? No, of course it's not. Yeah, I think our underwriters would get a heart attack. But I mean, it's allowed to have innovative ideas, and then you have to find solutions around the customer. So it's not only about what we believe.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Christoph, you talked about ecosystems and platform plays. What ecosystem and platform plays could be within the mobility space? You know, just car insurance just being a part of a bigger ecosystem. What could that be?
Super. Yeah, that's a genius question, David, and I would really love to discuss it with Monika and Daniel a bit, because what is our role to play in a mobility ecosystem? Do you want, you know, at the moment the parking garage of AXA in Zurich probably is quite empty, so we could put a fleet there. So whenever a customer needs a car, they can get one from us. Is that the idea that we have to grant mobility to our customer? Probably not. But what can we do? And here it begins from, what do our customers want to insure? Do they want to insure their car, or do they simply want to get from A to B? If they have a car, are we only the ones that you want to call in case of a claim, or maybe we are the ones that you think of when your car needs maintenance, or when you need a bigger car, when you want to go on vacation? That could be some of the questions. And also, couldn't we be the ones offering you the safest way to get somewhere? Maybe you don't take the scooter, maybe we recommend you to take a different vehicle. So in that mobility ecosystem, there is a role to play for us. I'm super certain of that. I think that also comes with investments. And for me, I'd really like to hear the ideas of maybe the other people on the webinar, Daniel, Monika, what that role could look like.
Sure, ecosystem plays within the mobility space. Daniel, over to you. Slowly, loudly.
Okay, thank you. I think that, as Christoph said, people maybe we need to know what they want to show. Okay, and of course it is really difficult to know, even for the customers, what they want. But what I think what we have to ask ourselves is at this moment is if who will be the customer in the future, maybe in 10 years. The customer will not be you or me, that it will be a great or a small company belonging vehicles or belonging bicycles or whatever, and they will have to buy to underwrite the insurance policy, and the customer will want to use a vehicle, or will want to use something that, but maybe they are not going to be. Of course, there will be people that will keep this in the current situation, but there will maybe there will be a great percentage of people that will not be the owner of a car or the owner of the vehicle, but they will use it. So I think that this is a trend in the future that we will see.
Okay, fantastic. Monika, what could be the ecosystem platform play within mobility and car insurance?
I mean, one thing is very clear. I'm fully with Christoph. I mean, we have to play in ecosystems in the future, and it's not only about products, but it's also about services we offer to the customers. And one, I mean, big disadvantage we have as an industry is that trust levels are relatively low. There's something called Edelman Trust Parameter, and if you look at insurances, they're even below banks. Yeah, it's really demotivating if you look at that and you think, what is the big problem? You know? And one of the problems is, of course, that the frequency of touch is very low. So, I mean, normally people have the feeling they buy an insurance policy, then they have to pay, and then if they're lucky, we give them something back if they have a claim, but they're not sure if it works out. Yeah? I mean, in that direction. And the question is, how do you turn it around so that you have positive emotional connections with insurance companies? And let us take the example of Christoph. Yeah? I like it. If you say, look, I have to get from A to B. Why don't I have an app which explains to me what is the best vehicle to get there, the safest, the quickest, and it will rain in 5 minutes, don't take an e-bike. Yeah, I mean, things like that. And I think that we have to get more into the minds of the customer in a positive sense with services which help them to have a connection with our brand. And then also, I believe that we have to position our brands in a more prominent way. I mean, right now, there's no big difference, sorry, Christoph, between AXA, Allianz, and Zurich. Yeah? They're all blue, they are all insurance companies. There's no clear brand positioning, if you ask me. And the question is, how can I use ecosystems like that in order to say, I position myself in a certain direction in order to have a distinct value proposition for the customer. And customers come back to me not only once a year, but maybe a bit more.
Indeed. And just I agree with that, and certainly picking up what Christoph said, actually customers don't want to think, what do I need to insure?
Yeah.
They actually think, what do I need to protect?
Yes.
What do I need to be able to do? Insurance is just a means of achieving something, and ultimately they just want to stop the bad stuff from happening in the first place. So maybe getting into sort of predictive risk management services might be an interesting way to go. What's your, Monika, you're nodding there. What do you think?
You can even be more philosophical. Yeah? One thing I don't like about insurance companies either is this disasters happening, and this is why you have to be insured. Yeah? I'm also more like Christoph in the direction of protect yourself. And if you are very philosophical or psychological, you could say, I pay and then believe nothing happens. It's like in church. Yeah? You pay something and then everything is fine. Yeah? And I think we have to go more in that direction so that it's not, oh, disaster is coming. It's more like I protect myself and this is why I'm safe in a bubble.
Okay. So more value-added services rather than...
I think we lost the original meaning of insurance companies for some reason.
Interesting, really interesting. And that brings me nicely on to the regulator, the role of the regulator. Tony's put in a great question here. Excellent discussion on changing customer expectations. What are the panelists' predictions for changing regulatory expectations? In the US, they've already had several regulators mandate financial relief, even though the data is still evolving, loss severities are way up. So, role of the regulator. Let's go for Christoph first.
So yeah, the regulator plays a super important role together with insurance companies. On the one hand, of course, the regulator should have an idea on how does insurance actually work. That's things you sometimes need to work on. And on the other hand, I think regulators can support us in enabling that we really protect the customers. That's for me the role that a regulator should play, making sure with us that we protect what matters to our customers, enabling that for us and for customers.
The regulator will be happy.
Sorry?
If you look after the customer, the regulator will be happy. Is that what you're saying?
What other idea could the regulator have in mind? Yeah.
Fantastic. Daniel, changing role of the regulator post COVID-19?
Yes, I think that in the future with the autonomous vehicles, for example, we'll have a lot of...
Could you slow down a bit louder, please?
Okay, I was saying that regulators will have a great role in new after the COVID, and because of the new technologies that are appearing, for example, with autonomous vehicles, it will be necessary to know that who is responsible for an accident, and this is something that will have to be that is being in fact discussed, and of course this is a part very important to know, and I think of course everything that protect the customer will be whoever received for the society and also for the insurance company.
Okay, fantastic. Again, there's a load more. We're running out of time, so a few more questions coming in. Jay is coming. What role do you think that venture capital funded new ventures will play? So insurtechs or the like. Could these new participants be more important than established companies? Great question. Monika.
I think we absolutely need them in order to get new thinking, new thoughts, and a push in our innovation.
Really? So you're saying
Thinking and
insurers can't
strategy.
do that themselves? So you're saying that insurers can't do that themselves? They need that external stimulus?
I think we are, and I have to say AXA is a bit better, yeah, but I think in total the industry is relatively slow when it comes to innovation. And I'm always comparing, of course, to my former industry, where we had a big presentation one day and they called us innovation junkies. And I wrote an article on LinkedIn once.
Like that.
And I wrote an article in LinkedIn once saying, I would be so happy to be called innovation junkie as an insurer. That would make my day. So I think that our nature is more to be risk averse. Yeah? So before we do something and then come to market with a new proposition, it takes a longer time than in other industries, let me put it like that. So I think it's good that we have other people who attack us at certain points of the value chain and then make us aware that there might be a good idea that we change as well.
Fantastic. Christoph, do you agree or disagree?
No, fully agree with Monika. And first of all, thank you for the acknowledgement. You made my day, Monika.
Thanks.
But I fully agree with you. We need that competition, that sort of competition, that sort of new players in the market to bring innovation to us. I think as an insurance company, you can go quite far if you just have a second mover strategy, but that's not our aspiration, I think. So we need to continue to innovate.
More questions coming out here, so I'm going to just put them through very quickly. What's the definition of becoming digital in an insurance world? Insurance companies have had some fancy websites, but process and technologies behind it are so old. I liken that to putting lipstick on a pig. In fact, more lipstick you put on, more of a pig it becomes. So what's the definition of becoming digital? Daniel.
Okay, being digital in insurance companies is to use all the technological tools that you can. For example, when you were talking about venture capital funding, I think that they will be more important maybe in insurtechs. So they will be very important in establishing insurance companies. And that digital is everything that helps the company to be more efficient.
Okay, so it's about efficiency then. Monika, what's digital to you?
I'm going to back to what Christoph said earlier. You have to look at the customer journey, you have to look at the most important pain points, then act accordingly. And if digital and technology is the answer, I'm happy. But it's more about what is your business strategy, what is the customer feedback, then take technology and digital as an answer. But it's not like, oh, I'm so happy with the chatbot now, or oh, I'm so happy because AI is so popular. It's the other way around. Start with the customer, then go to digital.
Certainly the experience in the UK with many insurance companies was customers phoning during the Covid-19 period and just getting, your call is important to us, and but a long line behind you, yes. And emails weren't being replied. So a big COVID-19 has certainly put the rocket fuel behind digitalization. So, but
as an enabler, I'm sorry, but I mean, it's not like a starting point for your company. You have to look at the customer first.
Absolutely.
I mean, digital technology alone doesn't help. You have to have a strategy and you have to have the customer view. Fantastic. And I think that's a big problem, because if we are so, I mean, as an industry, we're also very technology focused, yeah, but it's not the starting point.
Excellent. Technology is a means to an end. Let's focus on the end.
Yes.
From the customer's perspective.
I'm passionate about that one.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel it. Germany. I feel it already.
Yes, come on. German passion.
Absolutely. So Christoph, what's your view? What does an insurer mean to go digital?
Yeah, I try to add some passion, of course. So let's maybe start from a different angle. Insurance is not a physical product. You don't go to the supermarket. You don't go somewhere to buy a physical product. This is what is offline. So for me, there is no reason why insurance can't be entirely digital, entirely online available, and entirely around our customer as Daniel put it, as a service that is always available. You know, you don't need to get somewhere to carry something. You can have an insurance. You can have insurance protection whenever you need it, and whatever you need it for. So that should be our approach and our idea.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Alas, we must bring it to a close here. Thank you so much to our great panel. Well, not really panelists, they're innovation junkies. So thank you to our innovation junkies here, Monika, Daniel, and Christoph. Thank you so much for answering those questions. And for everybody listening, for being a great audience, for submitting those questions. Sorry I couldn't get through to them all. There were so many questions. But this certainly has highlighted the importance of focusing on the customer, the changing needs of the customer, not assuming what the customer is wanting, but actually asking them and doing something about the responses and actually, you know, taking action about having, customer at the heart. It's changing. It's a changing landscape through technology, through customer expectation, through use of data, etc. And certainly going digital is just the norm. If you're not talking to customers on your smartphone, you're not talking to them at all. So thank you so much for a great debate. This webinar is part of the exciting Future of Insurance series for Europe, Canada and US. And information about those events will be issued shortly. It just leaves me to say thank you very much. I hope you really enjoyed it. I certainly did. Goodbye and thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you, everybody.